All right, example number 2, find the solution to the following systems. Now, systems can have multiple equations, but we're always just dealing with 2. So we're only going to have 2. Now, what makes this example a little bit more unique is that the equations are not in y equals mx plus b form, meaning they're not in the form where we can just say, oh, hey, look, there's the slope, and hey, there's the intercept. We can't do that because it's not written in that form. We're going to have to get the y alone. So what I'm going to do here, and I don't have much space, but I'm going to write this x plus 2y equals negative 6. And I'm going to write this 2x minus y equals negative 2. And I'm going to get these equations where the y is alone. So we can minus this x over to this side. So I just have a 2y on the left equals, now I can't, these are not alike, I can't join them, so they just stay negative x minus 6. And then I can divide everything by 2. And my y is now alone. So y equals, now there's no number here, but it's actually a 1. So I'm just going to write the 1, negative 1, there's the 2, there's the x, and 6 over 2 is 3, and it's a negative. Okay, now just while we're at it, let's do the other side here. So I will minus the 2x over to this side. So again, I want to get that y alone. Now it isn't alone yet. There's still a negative y. And there's a negative 2x and negative 2. Again, they are not alike, so we will leave them separate. Notice that I wrote the x first. I always do that. And then I need to get this y alone, but there's a negative, so often what we'll do is we'll divide by negative 1. And there's no 1 there, but there actually is a 1 here. So negative 1 divided by negative 1 would just cancel, leaving me with just a y. Now negative 2 divided by negative 1 is a positive 2x, and negative 2 divided by negative 1 is again a positive 2. So now I've got these two equations. And I can graph them. So let's start with the one on the left. My slope is negative 1 over 2. So that's my rise and my run. So I'm going to be rising 1, but it has to be down because it's negative. The 2 is positive, so that means I can go right. And I have a starting spot of y-intercept of negative 3. So again, this is my y-intercept. And I will cross at negative 3. And I can do my slope. What was it again? Down 1, 2 to the right. Down 1, 2 to the right. Down 1, 2 to the right. So we're going to keep doing this. And I'm now going to go left. So I'm going to go up 1, 2 to the left. 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 And so now I can actually go and connect this line. Okay, so there is the line that we've graphed, but let's also do this second line. Okay, so my slope here, my m, now it just says 2, but it actually is over 1. And so that's going to be my rise. Now it's a positive 2, so that means we're going to be rising up. And it's a positive 1, which means we're going to run to the right. And then we have our starting spot. We cross the y-axis at 2. 2 is our y-intercept. So I'll cross the y-axis here at 2. And then I can do my slope, which will be a rise of 2 and a run of 1. Okay, so, okay, that disappeared. A rise of 2 and a run of 1 to the right. So up 2, 1 right, up 2, 1 right. So I'm just going to keep doing that. Up 2, 1 right, 2, 1 right. And then down 2, 1 left. down 2, 1 left. There's where we cross. Down 2, 1 left. Keep going here. 1 left, 1 left. Okay, so now I'm just going to connect those dots. Okay, so I drew the second line, connected the dots there, and we do have a spot of intersection, right, which is right there. Now, of course, every point has some x and y coordinates, so my x is going to be -2 and then also down 2. So -2, comma, -2. So left 2, then down 2. So that is my solution, -2 and -2. So that point, if I put that into the equation, it should work. Now, I'm going to just do the top one just to show you, and then you can just hopefully believe me. Now, the x right there is going to be our x, and our x is -2. So -2 plus 2 times y, so 2 times y. Now, y here is a -2, equals -6. Again, you do not have to do this. 2 times -2 is -4. And there's a -2 there. So -2 plus a -4 is indeed a -6. And the right side is -6. So -6 equals -6. This is a true statement. This point is on the line. And we could put it into the other equation and we would also get a true statement. Again, you don't have to do this. But it's just me proving to you that this is a point that works. Okay, so let's do the next question. Okay, so the next one here. X plus 2y equals -6, and x minus 4y equals 0. Neither of these are written where it's y equals mx plus b. The y is not alone, so we're going to have to do the same thing we did on the previous question. Okay, so let me just give myself a little bit of space here. How much do I need? I don't know, something like that. So I'll just write this over here. So x minus 4y equals 0. Okay, so that's how much space I need. And what's the top one? X plus 2y equals -6. Okay, so I need to get this alone. Let's start with the one here on the left. I need the y alone. So first we'll minus this x, and we'll minus this. We can, cross that out. So I'm left with a 2y equals, these are not alike, so we keep them separate. Write the x first. And then I can divide everything by 2. So y equals, just like the previous example, there is actually a 1 here, you just don't see it. So I will put it in so that we can figure out our rise and run. And 6 over 2 is 3, so a -3. And do the second question here, x minus 4y, so we'll have to minus this x onto the other side. So we'll have -4y equals -x plus 0. Now you don't need to write the plus 0, but I'm actually going to keep writing it just so that I can have a starting point. And then we can divide by -4. So those are gone, leaving me with just a y. And here there's a -1 x over a -4, and because they're both negatives, they will cancel out and make it just a positive. So those are gone. And then 0 over 4, 0 over anything is still 0. So it can be plus 0 or minus 0. We just typically write plus. Okay. So now we can do like we did on the first one. We can write down our slope. So our slope for this thing is m, so -1 over 2. That's our rise, and this is our run. And because it's negative, we're going to rise down. And because the 2 is positive, we're going to go right. And we have a starting spot here of -3. So this is my y-axis, and I will cross it at -3. And then I have a slope of -1, down 1, 2 to the right, I believe. Yeah, down 1, run 2 right. Okay, so down 1, 2 to the right. Down 1, 2 to the right. Down 1, 2 to the right. Up 1, 2 to the left. Up 1. So keep with this pattern. Okay, so now I'll connect the dots. Okay, so here we go. We have graphed this line, and now I will do the second one. So my second one here, my slope is 1 over 4. Both of those are positive, so I'm going to rise in the positive direction, which is up, and I'm going to run in the positive direction, which is right. And my starting spot here is 0. And if you didn't write anything, you'd have to remember that there's nothing there, and that nothing would be starting at 0. So I know we've graphed that before in a previous unit, but it's just good to remember that, which is why I ended up leaving the 0 there. So even if you didn't remember, hopefully now you can. So I have a 0 here, and I have a slope of, I think, 1 over 4. Up 1, 4 to the right. Yep. So up 1, 4 to the right. Up 1, 4 to the right. Down 1, 4 to the left. There's where we cross. Down 1, 4 to the left. So let me just connect those dots. Okay, so there I did it. The dots now are connected, and sure enough, like I had mentioned before, they do cross. They cross right here. So that spot is -4, and then in the x direction, and then down to 1 in the y direction. So -4, -1 is that point. And I'm not going to worry about putting that into the equation, but you could put those back in and make sure that they work. But yeah, so there you have it. So that's the end of this. These ones, like I said, are different than example number 1, because example number 1 had no algebra. Look, we could just write the slope and the intercept and then graph it. Here we had to do way more algebra. All of this algebra work right there, and then we could then do our slope and intercept to graph. And then don't forget that once you're done that, I always like to circle where they cross. So I circled it there, and then I write my solution down in the spot provided. Okay, so that should be good. In case you need to copy anything, and we'll start on the next questions in the next video.